Good morning. Good morning, everyone. GM, and welcome to another episode of FOMO Hour. Today is Thursday, June 26th, 2025. And folks, yesterday was a huge day of crypto news. Crypto is going to be usable for collateral for housing. SpaceX shares are being tokenized on Solana. We've got 3 unicorns minted in the past 2 days. It's 3 $1 billion or higher crypto companies. And yet, our magic internet money is chopping on the day, and we are asking, when will the summer of chop end? We're going to break it all down on today's show. No Farouk, he's out all week. Mando will be joining us here in a bit. I've got Logan on with me. Logan, GM, how you doing?
Hey, good morning, Tyler. I'm doing well. Temperatures are dropping to something a bit more reasonable here in PA. Still very hot, but a bit more reasonable. So things are more tolerable down here. Yeah, I'm feeling good. A lot of big headlines to talk through.
A little less tolerable in the Tyler D house because a couple of our AC units are out. And had a guy come look yesterday, and they're not going to be able to fix this till middle of next week at the earliest. And we've got another couple more 90-degree days on the horizon.
Throwback to young Tyler, right? European
Indeed.
Summer Tyler.
Well, it's funny, like in college, we didn't have AC in my dorms at Purdue. So it's just something you kind of get used to. But now a little less used to it these days. So we'll see. We'll get the kids used to that summer heat. Folks, what are we talking about on today's show? We're going to start with the market report. These ETF inflows have been massive. July rate cutouts back up to 25%. White House officials teasing some Bitcoin accumulation plans. And looks like some news out of Bloomberg here this morning. The GDP numbers from Q1 came in. Some housing numbers. We'll take a look at those as well. Circle stock under $200. The Clemente curse is too strong. As I alluded in the open, the U.S. housing director telling Fannie Mae and Freddie they had to look at crypto as collateral. That was a big one. This Republic investment platform offering tokenized access to SpaceX. But is it the real deal? Kalshi, mind-boggling $2 billion valuation in its last raise. We got to talk about that. The CBOE filing for that Pingu and Pudgy ETF. You love to see it. We're going to talk, what the hell is this new Moonberg app / airdrop that is all over the timeline? And we might take a look at that MYRIAD board as well. Before we dig into it, got to give a shout out to our partners, starting with Wallet Connect. Wallet Connect is the connectivity network shaping the future of on-chain UX. If you've connected to a Web3 app, you've seen Wallet Connect, that blue logo. It's everywhere. An icon of trust in crypto, as recognizable as Visa at the checkout. If you want to learn more, follow at Wallet Connect on X and Telegram to stay ahead of what's next. And Kraken Pro gives active traders exactly what they need: deep liquidity, full customization, and 350 plus trading pairs. Build your own layout with drag and drop modules and trade seamlessly across desktop or mobile. Go to pro.kraken.com and trade without trade-offs. And folks, before we jump in, we got to talk about this news out of Kraken. And they are our partner here. They're launching this Krak app. Krak. Free global payments across 160 countries, spanning crypto, stables, and fiat. Up to 10% yield on your holdings. Spending globally via their new Krak credit card. It's basically Venmo with crypto and better yield. I think that's my interpretation of this. Logan, we were kind of going a little bit back and forth on this one. Curious for your reactions to the news out of Kraken here.
Yeah, Venmo is sort of what I likened it to as well before I got a chance to dig in too deeply to it. But downloaded, it's a separate mobile app available, I believe, in both iOS and Android stores. I downloaded it. Works, connect it with your Kraken account. So that's nice. I think, this is interesting to me because as we were chatting through the case here, I was like, well, how is this really that different? But the biggest unlock, I think, actually, as they're sort of alluding to in the teaser video here, is the ability to sort of pay people in fiat or, crypto as well, right? From kind of an existing crypto balance. So you have pieces of this that are available in different ways. You can send crypto, of course, just via your crypto wallets. You can send fiat via normal fiat things like Venmo or Cash App or whatever. But the connection of the two of them, to my knowledge, really hasn't been done before. And I think that's what this is kind of unlocking. Is that how you understand it?
It is. I think when we were chatting, you raised an interesting question of why is this a separate app? Like, why not just do all in one with Kraken, the broader platform, and making that an app? And I actually do see the distinction of why they may have chosen to do it this way. Like, let's say Kraken is your crypto bank, and let's say you hold a decent chunk of your capital in your Kraken account. I can see a world where you don't want that as a payment app available on your phone. And a little bit of a separation of holdings, where perhaps you hold a smaller balance, something to kind of get you through day to day, week to week in this app, but a little bit less concern over like your entire balance being exposed to this payments app. So I totally see that use case for it. I think what jumped out to both of us was the yield. And I think I'll be surprised if they don't lean heavier into that, because that also feels like one of their biggest differentiators, right? 4 to 10%. I was scrolling through the announcement here just before the show. I didn't have a chance to do a super deep dive because this was fairly breaking news. All right, so as I see this, so you can send. I wonder if you send Bitcoin if it gets converted to USD, or if the other person gets it in Bitcoin. I'll have to take a look at that. Earn up to 10% rewards automatically. I thought I saw a table breaking that down. Let's see. Yeah, here they are. 4 to 10%. They compare it to Venmo, Cash App, and others. So significantly higher yield than some of these other payment apps. So that's a pretty big differentiator for them. I think also somewhat buried in this. I mean, all of these, we're getting a lot of credit cards. These crypto credit cards are the differentiator, or are the hot new thing rather. And looks like Kraken is betting on those as well. So payments app, yield, credit card. Love to see that out of our partner Kraken. So we'll be following that along. I was talking with Farouk ahead of the show. He jumped in the chat. Hopefully we get someone from the Kraken team on the show, and we can dig deeper into all this here in the next week or so. So stay tuned for that. Well, let's just get right into the market report. I'm sure Mando will be joining us shortly. I'll do my best Mando impression here for us this morning. Bitcoin holding up.
Sorry, didn't mean to cut you off there.
Ready to bash some bears. Much cleaner with the intro music, certainly. So thank you for that, Sims. Bitcoin down 1% on the day at 107K. ETH 24.25 down 1% or so. Solana down 4%, 142 is lagging here. Memes, I checked the meme board this morning. It's actually a bit of a bloodbath. So memes down 3 to 5% kind of across the board. Rough day for memes and alts kind of broadly. Still a bit of chop after some recent rebound. On more macro news, there were a few data points that came in. So one, we had U.S. Q1 final GDP numbers came in. I think originally they came out minus 0.2%, now minus 0.5%. So those were revised down. Of course, now all eyes will be on Q2, which is ending here in 4 days. If Q2 is negative, that would mean recession. I think most are projecting that we will be positive in Q2. Let's actually take a look at that recession market, because that has caught a decent roller coaster. So this was up to 65% in early May, coming out the back of Liberation Day, back at 28% now. So folks are expecting us to be positive here for Q2. We will certainly see in the days and weeks to come. Jobless claims last week came in slightly under. So that's positive. I thought I saw an interesting one on housing. Just scrolling through the list here. US 5 to 30 yield curve, steepest since 2021. That's not great. Trump commenting on the Iran uranium and where that is. I think we've seen some conflicting reports on that. Pending home sales in May, 1.8% versus 0.1. So that was a bit of a surprise, just because in general, we've seen more chatter about the housing market being fairly soft right now, which lines up to what I've been seeing anecdotally as well. With all that said, stocks are green again. Stocks are green just about every day, it seems. Let's take a look at the S&P. I think it's nearing all-time highs here. That's 61.17. We are now green on the year, up 12%. Yeah, basically hanging out at all-time highs. So stocks are at all-time highs. Bitcoin's 5%, 4% off all-time high, basically hanging out there as well. But our beloved alts are far, far, far from all-time high. So we will see if indeed an alt season ever comes back. The ETFs, I think, were one of the macro stories of the day in the crypto space. Over $1 billion in inflows in the last 2 sessions. I bet driving a huge majority of that. I added up just this board, just the Degenz board from June 9th till today, 3.9 billion in net inflows into those Bitcoin ETFs. So the daily buys are piling in from the ETFs, and Ethereum, a solid stretch here as well. 130 million in the last 2 sessions, 230 million across the last 3. So the size of the inflows on the ETH from the ETH ETFs has been increasing. It certainly has been a noticeable uptick from me, but it is not really, it's not impacting the price of our beloved ETH token. That's to say the least. I haven't gone through and looked at the June numbers, but I would guess that June, I mean, let's just do a ballpark here. Where was my, so 230 million, 250, 280, 400, 640. So we're talking about $1 billion, most likely, in net inflows for the ETH ETFs in the month of June. And this is the monthly chart. It's not great. Logan, any reactions?
No. I don't even know what to say.
Nice. Don't say anything at all, I guess. Is
indifference almost. Like at this point, we've become accustomed to this, right? Which is unfortunate, I guess, especially if you're an Ethereum holder. The thing that comes to mind, actually, Tyler, I was looking at the MYRIAD board this morning as I write my weekly piece on Thursdays. There's a new or newer piece that's the same as we talked about the Bitcoin one, 115 versus 95. There's one now for Ethereum, which is 3,000 or 2,000 first. And all I can think about when you talk about, just those competing narratives about, of course, plenty of inflows, but price doesn't move. I mean, take a look at that chart. Nobody can make up their mind. Feels like it might just stay at 2,400 forever.
2K ETH would be fairly jolting at this point. I mean, with Bitcoin at 107. So, like, even if Bitcoin goes back to like 98K, like, man, ETH at 2,000.
It doesn't even, I mean, I don't know. It doesn't feel jolting to me because
you're used to it.
Yeah, at this point, again, there's this level of like, indifference, apathy. I don't know what to say about the price of Ethereum. Like I got listening to, I was listening to you folks talk with Joe Lubin. We talked about this yesterday on the show as well, and the SBET stuff, and the sovereign nations considering building on Ethereum. Like, it feels like there's so many potential catalysts, yet inflows, right? You just talk about almost $1 billion in inflows, yet nothing happens price wise. It's the like every single day is that meme with the stick figure, the little round guy poking the thing. And it's like, do something.
Yes.
That's ETH.
Well, eventually the Ethereum Foundation is going to be tired of selling, and maybe this thing will go back up. I like the 3K side of this. I would not bet the house on it, to say the least. I've been burned betting on Ethereum in the past, but I like 3K before 2K. So interesting market. I think we might chat through some of the other markets as well here later on in the show. Another quick macro one from yesterday that I didn't actually catch a whole lot of attention on the timeline. I'm looking for it now. I might just play the clip. I think folks, I don't know if folks will be able to hear it. Just bear with me. I'll repeat what he says here. SBR. How do we follow that up with the accumulation plan? So I think this is one of the first times we've actually heard explicitly a White House official talk about a Bitcoin accumulation plan.
Who's the official here? Is there?
I'm actually not familiar.
Okay,
and I didn't do a ton of digging on this. That was the title the Watcher Guru gave. So I'll have to dig in.
Yeah, I didn't see this on my timeline at all, Tyler. So,
do you think the U.S. will accumulate Bitcoin in 2025?
In 2025 feels, I don't know. I mean, we're already almost halfway through. It just seems like I don't know what other things this administration can do in a really, really quick, manner. Like he can't just sign an executive order to buy Bitcoin, can he? Like I don't think so. I don't know. We're past the executive order days, it feels like. So I'm definitely out of the loop there in terms of what the capabilities are. It just feels like too much of a process. It's going to require a lot more work to get done. So I'd say no for 2025, but I fully expect that it accumulates at some point during the Trump administration. Yeah. I don't think anybody's really expecting otherwise, are they?
Well, I think it's still been, I think some folks may be on the fence. I think a lot of folks don't think we'll buy it. I would say consensus is the U.S. will not market buy Bitcoin in the Trump administration. And I would probably be on the no side of that as well, though it feels like a coin flip to me. But with the accumulation plan, like mining comes into play, right? So the U.S. spins up a mining operation, accumulates Bitcoin that way. That counts. I think, hey, for the MYRIAD team listening, I think we need a market on this.
Yeah, this is
Will
an interesting
the U.S. accumulate Bitcoin in 2025 in any capacity beyond their current holdings? And I would be on the yes side of that. With 6 months to go, feels like a long time. Plus, the clock has been ticking on those 90-day plans, or 100, even the 180-day plans, right? So the executive orders came out like Jan 25th, roughly. So July, we're about a month out from those. Maybe it takes a few months to get operational, but I feel like this admin also moves pretty quickly. So I don't know. I kind of like the yes side for accumulation in 2025. And it wouldn't be all that shocking to me if they've already been covertly doing it in some capacity. Which if that comes out as true, I think that's a 10%, 15% Bitcoin candle in one day if we get that. Another headline that we had from yesterday that I think folks thought might move markets more than it did. This U.S. housing chief comes out and says, hey, we ordered Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac. You now have to look at crypto as collateral when evaluating mortgage applications. This is from Director William Polte. He's framing a broader move aligned with the Trump administration vision. Order sparks mixed reactions. I actually haven't seen a whole lot of mixed reactions. I guess the criticism I have seen, as I understand it, this is just crypto assets that are custodied. I don't know if you've got to the fine details of this one. I'm trying to scan through this article now to see what qualifies. I don't believe self-custodied Bitcoin held in cold storage, for instance, counts as this. So perhaps it's evaluating Coinbase assets. I think it would certainly count your IBIT held in a banking account or investment account. Not sure if you have any more details or just broader reactions now.
No, well, this is a really interesting one to me. I sent this to my fiance yesterday. I of course, am not a home owner. I never have been, never really even started the process, but it's an interesting one. Just in terms of preparation, should that, that's like actually an important bullet point for me, right? To potentially have in our holster if and when we start to look for a house. So I don't know too much about the actual process just because I'm so new to, never have done it. I don't know what else to say. The things that I was thinking about, given my lack of experience here, the things that I was thinking about this in its entirety is like something like this. feels like one of those big moments to me where we start to intertwine crypto with traditional finance so much that you can't walk it back. You know what I mean? We've talked about from time to time, like some of the political stuff potentially being walked back because of the disdain for Trump and, you know, personal enrichment. This feels like one of those big things, and continued adoption with banks, right? You know, just embracing crypto as well. Like this feels like one of those big things that you just, if it gets too far down the road, no one can really stop it from continuing moving forward. That's how I was thinking about this from my really limited perspective on exactly the mortgage process. I was kind of thinking, you know, bigger picture, like, hey, this feels like a really big win for crypto, and less so about like, how will my Farcoin help me buy a house?
One quick takeaway. Farcoin was referenced the most in all of the jokes, in all of the shit posts. It's like, now I can use Farcoin as collateral. I think Mando went viral, actually.
I went viral for that. Yeah, I didn't. That's my second time going viral in a month. I was surprised, but yeah, it's Farcoin collateralized houses feels like the next move. I think this is just natural though, right? Like this is great, but I would say that the majority of my net wealth is in crypto, and I would say that that's going to be, and it may just be in stable coins, right? Like, so the idea that that wouldn't be counted, I think, is missing the point. So I do think it is naturally going to happen. It's naturally going to happen as all these Gen X people or millennials start to grow up, and a lot of their wealth is in crypto or crypto adjacent, let's say. I think this is going to need to happen, right? Like I've had conversations with banks around this in Europe, and it feels like Europe is quite a way off. But yeah, the US doing this is definitely a good thing.
Yeah, a couple thoughts on my end. One, I think some folks may be confusing about exactly what this means. And I think the word collateral was thrown around. So this is not directing them to actually take your Farcoin as collateral. For a mortgage, the primary collateral is the house itself. So that's how mortgages work. But like what this actually means is they were going to evaluate crypto as a part of your overall net wealth when evaluating your readiness to be lent to. Yes or no. So when a bank makes the binary decision, are we going to lend to you, yes or no? And then the next decision, what kind of rate should we offer you? How high up are we going to approve you to go in purchasing a house? That's where this comes into play. So I think that is a key differentiator. I personally just went through this process, and I've said on the show, I don't want to beat a dead horse. They didn't look at crypto at all in evaluating our net worth. I think the Cyrus example is even more telling. So Cyrus is a guy who I think has been pretty public. He's had some very good success in the crypto market. That is his kind of primary net worth, I think is fair to say. And he's been talking about going through buying a house, and they didn't even look at it, even though he had crypto holdings per him worth multiples of the house that he was looking to buy. So that is just like an obvious problem, right? Especially as Mando's point, if he's holding some of that in stables, if he's holding some of that in more stable crypto assets like Bitcoin. So that's going to be fixed. We are correcting that horse. I think a lot of folks thought this would be perhaps a catalyst for near-term price action. It clearly wasn't, but I do think it's one of those that just makes it easier to hold on a longer-term time horizon. So still bullish, but doesn't mean we're going to jump to 110, 120K overnight. Well, Mando, we jumped into the market report, but love having you on with us. If anything jumped out to you at a high level, big takeaways from the past 24 hours or so?
It kind of reminds me of what I said I thought would happen, which is that the next leg of this was probably that we drop a little bit and the better stuff would kind of rise. And I think that's what we've kind of seen. Like a lot of, if you look through altcoins, a lot of stuff that had that short squeeze feeling about it has dropped. And kind of the majors feel okay. You know, Bitcoin feels fine, ETH feels fine, Hype feels fine. Even Solana like hasn't really fallen out of bed, so to speak, but like a lot of the other stuff has dipped back lower. And that's kind of across the board for like memes and for altcoins. So Bitcoin dominance, despite Bitcoin ETH outperforming today. So ETH is outperformed, but Bitcoin dominance is higher again because it's all the other alts that have kind of underperformed here. So, which is it's interesting to say. This is kind of what I've been saying, that I think that I don't know if we count ETH as an alt, but I feel like we could have like a season here where Bitcoin and ETH do well, not just Bitcoin this time. But I'm very unsure about the rest of the altcoins. Like the others index, I think is a dangerous one to assume will go higher because ETH does okay.
Man, this Bitcoin dominance chart does not look like it wants to slow down. I guess I haven't looked at this in a few
How
days.
crazy is that? Like in a day where ETH is outperforming, that it's going higher. That tells you that alts are getting destroyed. So
I think Solana is a big one. I don't know if we've really talked about Solana as a trade that much in the last couple weeks. It's been pretty heavy, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like we've had a lot of positive news. So like meme coin season clearly has cooled off significantly, right? But I think we've seen a whole lot of news for Solana with respect to tokenization. That this SpaceX announcement, which we'll get into, they're going to be tokenizing on Solana. Yet we're not really seeing much in the way of buy pressure. Do you think
news is the important thing though? I've been looking at Artemis for the flows, and Solana's been continuing to see outflows, right?
Yeah.
And that is a medium term trend, it feels like. I think like if you go onto, I'll put it into our show notes.
Yes, net outflows the last 3 months.
Right, exactly, right. Like that's what I'd be paying attention to. And then I think that the important thing there is honestly is also like the pump fund token. Like if pump fund comes out and it indicates it's going to be its own chain, and like there's a path here for pump chain, I do think that's like a bad headline for Sol, which despite, and I have a massive respect for Solana, and like it's proven itself to be incredible in terms of user adoption and stuff that goes on there. But sometimes these narratives can shift, and I think you can still think that Solana should be like the number 3 chain, but like know that it may just go through periods of like it doesn't have to always outperform or be the main chain. That's kind of what my view was on ETH, right? Like I'm not like some massive ETH maxi, like not even anyway. Like I feel like there's massive deficiencies with it. But I just felt like the time and the place was that you're going to see inflows into the ETF, and you're going to have the staking, and looked like there's going to be a treasuries companies kind of build. The treasury stuff has erred with what happened with Sharplink, but the rest of the stuff I still think is pretty strong. With Solana, I feel like if you were bullish on Solana in January, you have to be intellectually honest and be like, that stuff is not happening as much right now. So, and it's not just like not happening a little bit. It's collapsed a lot of the volumes there. So like it does have to rebuild itself on more of the TradFi / payments rail idea than just like the gambling chain. And I actually think that sphere of influence is a bit more competitive, if I'm honest. Like, whereas I think Solana is like obviously miles ahead for meme coins and gambling, essentially, like on-chain gambling, essentially. It's not miles ahead when it comes to TradFi adoption of crypto, RWAs, or payments. It's just not. So, and I think that's kind of what's happened here. Is that like, yeah, look at that, right? So,
RIP trenches. Sorry.
Yeah, that's just my view. I think Solana is better than any other ETH killer. Let's put it that way. any of the other changes, it's like this is going to be the next thing. I think Solana will be around. Like it's proven that it's going to be around. Like I think other things look very expensive versus Solana, like other competing L1s, for example. But I do think that with the trenches gone, it's now relying on this like TradFi tokenization payments pitch, and that one I think is they don't have the dominance that they had basically.
Yeah, it's not as strong, and I think that's very fair to say. SOL does have the ETF catalyst coming. We don't know when. I think consensus is still probably Q4, though maybe a little higher likely to be sooner than that. But even with the ETF, like we've seen how ETH played out. That's a good question. Let me see.
Still 50-50. SOL ETF to be approved by July 31st, 50-50.
Wow. 50% by the end of next month. That's higher than I would have expected.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah.
Clearly, it's shot up tremendously in the last 2 weeks. So yeah, it was down to 15%. Just massive time decay on that. Now back to 50. I think because of some of the recent rhetoric. I think I'm on the no side of July 31st. If I have to bet on that market right now. On the yes side, clearly by December 31st, which is 90% in line with the Eric Balkunas odds that they shared. But even with that approval, you're going to have those early hiccup days and still broader questions of what those flows will look like. I do think it is somewhat promising if you are looking to the Ethereum ETFs as a perhaps signal for what the Solana ETF flows may look like in 6 months, 12 months. They finally started to see some size, right? And it was a shaky start for Ethereum. There was a lot of net outflows as the grayscale shuffle was taking place. And then like there was periods of time where it was just crickets, right? I think there was like there was a lot of 0 days out there. But now that has flipped. So I do think there's been a lot of progress in TradFi with respect to the ETFs. Go ahead.
There has been, but BlackRock has decided they're not. I mean, look at this for ETH. How much of this is BlackRock? It's
all of it.
Actually, basically, if you look at the net across everything, it's actually everything. And BlackRock have decided not to do a SOL ETF, which tells you a lot. I think they're telling, and that's not that they don't like SOL, in my opinion. I think that what they're saying is we've got a bit of momentum here in ETH. Let's drive that home, and we'll do a SOL ETF, but maybe like once we have a bit more time to go through it. So I think Fidelity did apply for a Solana ETF, so they're like the number 2. So that, like, you can imagine Fidelity will do well here. But and I think Invesco filed yesterday. I think Bitwise have filed. So like some of the other players have filed, but like BlackRock is the daddy, and they've decided not to. So I think that just read into that more of like an indication of like, do they see demand for it from their fund managers at the moment?
Yeah, very fair. I think it's going to take time to get the wealth managers out there who are already starting to say 1 to 2% of portfolios into Bitcoin, maybe Bitcoin plus Ethereum, to get them to open up to Solana. It's going to take time. I do think there's a path to it, but not immediately. Quick, folks, the code for today, we are doing YEET action today, and it is pudgy. And there's a reason for that, folks, on this ETF topic. News out of Igloo and the CBOE. The CBOE has filed for that Canary Pingu ETF. That is going to be an ETF that covers the Pingu token along with Pudgy Penguin NFTs, which is the first of its kind to have this hybrid meme coin plus NFT bag. This comes after we had the Pudgy Penguin mascot ring the bell at NASDAQ on Monday, and the proliferation continues. Any reactions to this one? A, just the fact that they were able to pull this off. B, perhaps What do we think with respect to inflows?
I think this is really good as a headline. I'm not sure if you'll see massive inflows into it. I think you didn't really see a big move on the back of this, right? I remember when initially there was in fact, Pingu's down. Wow, I was not expecting that. Yeah, like I have a lot of respect for Luca and what they're building over there. I think he's proving that Pingu is around for the long haul, basically. I think, if I'm honest, the thing that I think would really send Pingu would be a flywheel of some sort, rather than this sort of stuff. Because I think people are like, yeah, this is really bullish, but like we'll probably see inflows of like a few million, like not like hundreds of millions for this. So I think the real thing would be like, right, do they tie the business somehow to it? That's what I'd love to see from, if Pingu was to like soar, it'd be around that.
I feel like that's on their radar, 100%.
Yeah, they know what they're doing.
It is shocking, though. You get a headline like this. And I know this was somewhat telegraphed, right? I think they announced that this could be coming a few months back. So this is just the next step in that. But like, we didn't even see any NFTs get bought on the back of this. It is a hard game in the NFT streets these days. But the Pudgy's still a very comfy hold, I think, to say the least. Wow, we've only got 20 minutes left in the show. There's a few other big headlines that I want to get into. I want to talk Kalshi. We'll get there in a second. But we got to talk to the SpaceX news. So I saw this from Nick Dukoff yesterday. He is the head of institutional growth at the Solana Foundation, sharing that the R SpaceX token is going to be minted on Solana using this Republic app. I think it is an investment app. I wasn't familiar with Republic before yesterday. And effectively how this is going to work is that it'll be, they're calling it a mirror token. So Republic has exposure to SpaceX on the private market. They are tokenizing that exposure. And then they are minting and selling those tokens on Solana. As I understand it, it is possible under U.S. crowdfunding laws. So this is kind of falling under that crowdfunding bucket. Minimum of $50, maximum of $5,000 per person. So I thought that was an interesting cap. It looks like they've also got future plans to go after OpenAI and Anthropic for future offerings. So again, the way it works, Republic gets access to SpaceX equity on the private markets. They tokenize it. Investors buy in via the Republic app. And then you have to wait for some type of event, liquidity event, to be able to cash out. So if SpaceX IPOs, if there's an additional raise, if Republic receives a payout, they will then pass it on to holders. It looks like there's going to be a 12-month lockup, but then it will be tradable on a secondary market. So I thought this was a big one, very clearly a splashy headline. I think there was a bit of confusion. I also saw the take that this isn't real access to SpaceX. You're effectively buying a meme coin of SpaceX. Not sure I agree with that, but Logan, curious for your reaction, and Manuel as well.
Yeah, so I actually had used Republic before, not for crypto-related things, but just it offers people the opportunity to invest in like startups, right? Like smaller startup stuff that's trying to get money via safes. I don't have a super strong feeling here. So the mirror token, like literally you're just gaining basically exposure to the price of the current, their understanding of the current private share price.
Correct.
Right. So, I mean, I guess if you really want access to SpaceX, this is awesome. I don't understand exactly why it matters so much for Solana. I don't know. Like, I don't necessarily see this as like a major bullish event for Solana, but I think for investors that want to have new access to different investment vehicles, this is definitely super cool. I don't see it as like a major catalyst for Solana personally.
Well, I think that's fair, especially if Republic's already been around, right? I do think tokenized access to private markets is very interesting. This is not my area of expertise. I was talking with Jeeves and other VCs, and they think that there will be other and better ways to do this in the near future. All I know is I don't have a path to investing in SpaceX right now on June 26, 2025. And now, thanks to Republic, I will, as I understand it. And I actually think that is very interesting. And SpaceX is the type of company that I would like to have some exposure to, as long as it is legitimate. Mando, curious for your thoughts.
So I think there are some websites, including Republic, which have kind of explored this with TradFi before, right? This isn't necessarily a new concept. It's kind of like trading, like we have, like trading stuff pre-market for random tokens. Like Avo does that, right? And a couple of other firms have done that.
Good comp.
I think this is probably a good use case. I don't know if it will be like as liquid necessarily as people think it will be, but I do think it will be an interesting use case. And yeah, let's see how it does. Like I think this has been a continual desire from Silicon Valley for this sort of product. The idea of like the way for founders and seed/Series A investors to trade out of their positions slightly early. So naturally, there's like quite a lot of supply from there. Maybe they think that crypto is going to be the buyer of all of this, and maybe that is the case. Like maybe we're going to find a world where the exit liquidity for founders in Silicon Valley is actually via crypto markets, and maybe there is a product market fit here. Like I'm not going to say no too early, because I do think that the valuation for this will be much higher than I think. I was, and I don't know this because I haven't looked in the last 24 hours, but I thought like people have spoken about SpaceX really being valued around 300 billion, something like that. Maybe like
350 billion. I didn't realize it was that high.
Have you just looked at that?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Yeah. No, I think that's how it was valued at its last round or something along those lines. So, but they could value this thing at trillion, like, or maybe even higher, right? Mm-hmm. So, and that will attract more people to come in and do this. And then, like I'm trying to think what are the biggest firms that haven't IPO'd? Stripe would be another example. Like, yeah, that's less sexy than SpaceX, though, I guess. Maybe, XAI, Twitter. These are companies that aren't public. That people could tokenize part of their stock. Again, I'm trying to think what other big ones. I'm sure there'll be others, but like I guess Twitter, XAI,
Anthropic, OpenAI. Yeah.
Anthropic would be another good one. OpenAI would be a good one. Yeah, like maybe we see this. I'm more bullish on this as a concept than I am for Solana, though. I very much agree with what Logan was saying. I don't think this is going to be something like but I think it could be a new use case for crypto. VCs and Silicon Valley founders dumping on crypto people wouldn't be the first time.
Look in their
internet capital markets.
Yeah, this is the real internet capital market.
It is. This is the real internet capital markets. I mean, I see it as a win-win, right? Like crypto native investors who want access to these and don't have other paths. That's a win. People who are invested in these private markets now have more liquidity options. That is a win for them as well. I think it's going to take more than just Republic launching on Solana for us to have truly liquid private secondary markets. I'm not naive about that, but this is a step in the right direction. So I thought this was an exciting one. The other one that you have to be excited by, Kalshi, $2 billion valuation, twice the amount that we saw Polymarket raise for just a day before. That was fairly eye-opening for me. $185 million raise. I believe it was led by Paradigm. So this is a Series C. Valued them at $2 billion. I saw their CEO, the Kalshi CEO, came out and said they've been doing about $1 billion of volume a month, which is also higher than my expectations because that's right in line with what Polymarket is doing. I think Polymarket's a touch under $1 billion a month right now. I'll be honest, I thought Polymarket was seeing more volume than Kalshi, so that does surprise me, but perhaps it is because they are more regulated in the US and they are open for business. Versus
that US
Polymarket.
thing is the big one.
Yeah.
If Polymarket gets that, I'm sure with the money that they're raising, that'll be their number one focus.
Yeah.
Then I think Polymarket would be worth a lot more than Kalshi.
It's also got to be some of the fiat connection here, right? Too. It's like way easier to use Kalshi. Like Polymarket's all on chain.
I've never used it, so that is hard for me to say.
I'm pretty sure you can just like use USD on Kalshi. Like I'm
Kalshi's not on chain.
Yeah,
well,
so
not
it's like a betting app. Yeah, so it's probably easier to get deposits.
And it's mobile and stuff. I mean, I assume Polymarket, as Mando was just mentioning, like those are the things that they would be working on, right? Those are the easiest slam dunks to potential onboarding, like ever. Like you get a mobile app in people's hands and you let them use Venmo money or whatever.
It's a big one. The prediction market proliferation continues. I think they are absolutely here to stay. I do think we're going to see more competition. I was in chats with a few friends. One thinks that DraftKings will spin up a prediction market. Why? Because why not? I think I've seen the other take that Robinhood perhaps is going to get into this game. So I won't be surprised if it becomes more crowded. But clearly, market is seeing a whole lot of value for these things.
I think the exchanges will go after this for sure. Like these are essentially very similar to exchange style businesses. I would be super unsurprised if you start to see Binance, Coinbase, Hyperliquid all consider this sort of stuff, right? Like that they would be in my top ones for stuff like this. And then the gambling apps. Like you go onto Kalshi, like these are just like these are just gambling apps. Like it's like a regulatory. It is like a regulatory loophole, but like people, if you go on there, you'd be like, okay, well, I get to gamble on a sports game, right? But it's like because it's PvP, you kind of get around a lot of that. So I think anyone that runs an exchange or runs a sports book or casino in the US will be interested in this sort of product, and you'll see massive competition. I think Kalshi and Polymarket, they would be crazy not to think that they could maybe get bought as well. Like, they are probably knowing that there's going to be so much competition. I would always consider an offer from somebody about getting bought.
Absolutely. And there's another prediction market that we like around here.
I know, right? When $1 billion raise, Myriad.
I heard that's what Farouk is working on this week. Also, Time by Logan. I don't know if folks know this, but Logan writes a prediction market article once a week, I believe on Thursdays. Where he goes through some of his favorite bets. Logie, I'm pulling up the Myriad board. I know you haven't started the article yet, or maybe you've started to think about it. It's not published yet. What lines jump out to you this week?
Yeah, so as a disclosure note, I can't recommend any bets or anything, but I try to share what alpha I possibly can based on interesting markets. So that comes out on Thursday afternoons. The things that I'm looking at this week, there's a handful. One there at the bottom row, Tyler, the President Trump to swear again to the media before August. I think this is a fun market. Of course, this spawned after he dropped the F-bomb in that little clip. I believe outside the White House or something. But if you scroll through to the resolution criteria, this includes both him on camera in those public appearances as well as Truth Social posts.
Wow.
And that was like the big flag for me. So yesterday, as I was like starting to gather data and information, I was going through and trying to determine how frequently, if at all, he uses excessive language on Truth Social. Right? It's not very popular, yeah. So he doesn't actually do it too often. Most of the things he uses are those kind of mild words. He uses words like stupid and, like, I don't know. Think about all the things he's been calling Jerome Powell. Like, he doesn't rise to the level of dropping the F-bomb like Powell's a stupid F. You know what I mean? He just calls him a dummy and things like that. So those would not count. Nevertheless, it's still, I think, a pretty interesting market given the volatility of Trump. and all of the things at play right now. Israel, Iran, lots of things happening all the time that he could potentially go off about. So a fun market that I was looking into, and I think there's some interesting data. Like if you do comb through, again, I think his last 50 to 100 posts, there was not a single one. I didn't go much far beyond that, but interesting nonetheless. The other two that I think I'm going to write about this week was the one we chatted about a little bit earlier, was the Ethereum 2K to 3K one, which I think is interesting for a variety of reasons, right? You have same sort of stuff, the macro overhang, potentially pushing this in one direction or the other. And then you have all the other headlines we chatted about in the last few days. You have SBET, buying Ethereum. You have the catalysts of analysts, thinking that these blockchains, the underlying assets where there's actually activity, may start to show some price appreciation. Those, a little bit older headlines, but things like that. And the last one, of course, near and dear to me, but also relevant because it's coming up, is there's a Wimbledon market that I'll be writing about. The men's Wimbledon winner, of course, Alcaraz and Sinner, the top two there in the field, the third option. I'm not sure where it is. There it is, all the way to the right there on that.
Oh, there it is.
Yep. So final round of qualifying today. Been watching off to the side a little bit this morning. This is another one I'll be writing about. Alcaraz, of course, the prohibitive favorite as the reigning champion, just an incredible grass court player. A place where Sinner has not yet, quite found his legs. So be interesting to see. But those are the three that I'm looking at this week. There's a lot more markets in the V3 now. So people should definitely go check it out.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for that rundown, folks. We're at the top of the hour. It is time to do our YEET giveaway. I didn't have a chance to get into Moonberg, the hottest new airdrop that you may be seeing on your timeline. So perhaps we'll get into that on tomorrow's show. Mando, if you haven't seen that, you probably have some tokens.
I'm gonna go check it out. But it's just another trading app, is it? That's what someone said.
I honestly don't know what it is. I tried to figure out what it is from their website. I believe it's got an AI and a data tie-in. I understand it as they're trying to be kind of a comprehensive AI-driven app that allows you to do things, perhaps make trades, perhaps answer questions based on their own terminal. So it is kind of like an AI XBT, perhaps meets Prime is the vision. I understand it. But they've been fairly secretive about what the product is. So we'll look for more to come. We saw the flashy dollar amounts that various influencers, creators are receiving. We have no idea how that will actually be executed and if that's tied to a token, if it's tied to TGE, we're not really sure. But as NFT Cutie says, don't know what it is, but it's provocative. It is provocative indeed. And people do like free money. So I'm sure you'll see more Moonberg on your timeline. I think it already jumped to 5th in Kaido in like 12 hours. So,
do you remember Boop?
I do remember Boop. It's a very painful memory.
Good time.
Yes. The airdrop feels a little Boop-like indeed, as they flash you a number, but we'll see how that number comes to life. Well, Sims, if you're ready, let's get into the YEET giveaway. Just one today. The code again is Pudgy. Last chance to get in on that Yeeter board.
A little note for people as well. As of next week, we'll continue as normal this week, but from next week, we'll have weekly leaderboards. So there will be a minimum amount that you have to spend per week because there's quite a lot of people who are putting up some good volume. There's quite a lot of people who have done $1 day one and nothing since. And we are giving away a lot of cash. And we want active people on YEET and on the show. So as of next week, there'll probably be a small minimum amount, but it will be based on a weekly leaderboard rather than just the all-time. And we will pick winners, active people who are actively placing bets and active on YEET, rather than just sitting there and waiting for the spins. So be aware of that small change. But for now, it will be just the normal spin. So we'll see what we get. $1 minimum, and away we go.
All right. We're spinning. Who's going to win today?
He won the other day, didn't he? So I need to do a quick check on that because, well, he did win the other day. So
okay.
That won't be in, unfortunately. Sorry, Spacebar.
You're hot though, my friend.
Yeah. Let me just remove the screen for 1 second and reset it.
And don't worry, Midzi. It was 2 past you, but we're going to spin again. So you've got one more shot.
He'll be gutted. We'll space bar. Sorry, mate. We have a 4-week lockout.
4-week lockout. Gotta be fair.
We're on the 28th. There we go. Space bar was definitely in that. Yes, he was. So we'll go again with another winner.
Reroll.
I actually really like the kick. Like, I just like
Great,
it.
Good setup.
Yeah. When we did REKT Radio yesterday, like it's just a good. It's good to interact with the audience.
It does seem better.
Pradeep Web3.
Let's get the check. Pradeep Web3.
I will close and get his kick name as well, just to be sure. Have a quick look.
I don't think I remember Pradeep Web3.
I don't have that down as a winner.
All right, Pradeep, you won. Come on up
in the
here
side
if you
chat as
want.
well. Either on the space or in the side chat. We can do either.
Yeah, either jump up on the space or chat with us in the comments. Regardless, I believe today we're going to play Plinko. Is that right? So we won't need interaction.
It's up to you. We can either do that, or what we could do is, because after what I saw, the disaster on REKT Radio last night of the farm mill all the way at the end.
What happened?
Maybe there was Kook didn't go all the way. I think he cashed it. Was it $3,000? But the casino on Lamb Chop was clear all the way. The entire road was clear, and they had $1,500.
Wow.
Everyone won 1,500. So 3 people won 1,500, but we could have gone all the way to the barn.
All right, I see Pradeep in the space. He's here. All right. He's still connecting.
What do you do? Do you do Lamb Chop or do you do Plinko? Your choice, boys.
To do Lamb Chop?
Yeah, we're going. Because you've got an event on for Lamb Chop at the moment, right? There's an event.
Yeah,
on
let's do Lamb Chop. Let's win some.
Let's do it. Pradeep, Jim, you won, my friend. How you feeling? He's speechless.
We can play for him, otherwise.
Okay, can play for him.
Thank you. That's what.
All right. Hi, Pradeep. We're happy for you. You won. I think we've kind of talked about playing this a new way where we go at least to the halfway point and then give the winner the chance to choose if they want to go all the way.
So we've just been doing one shot 500 spins. With we've been doing 1,000 on REKT, but they already won 500, right? Or how much did they win? Yeah, they already won 500.
Yeah, he's already banked 500.
Why don't we just do 500 and see how far we can?
See how far we can get.
All right.
We'll be more risk averse.
Can hear you properly.
All right, Pradeep, why don't you go on mute? I think we'll play for you.
We'll play for you.
You've won $500 already, and you may win more.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it.
All right. Are we doing one then? Are we going for it on
Let's
500?
go one, 500. Let's see.
Let's do it.
All right, boys. Let's get the music on as well. Set the tone.
Ooh.
Here we are.
All right. Who wants to drive? Who wants to drive?
All right, click it.
Okay. Tyler can drive.
Not the first time. Don't do me first time. Come on.
All right.
Okay.
We're going again, yes or no?
Let's go again, yes. Oh, no.
Oh, my goodness.
I hate when they get taken in the second one. All right. Well, Pradeep, you still walk away with $500 today. We'll coordinate with you after the show here. Congrats. Nice little win still for tuning in this morning. And folks, that is going to be it. That is our show. I want to thank our listeners as always. I want to thank my co-hosts. I want to thank our partners. Shout out to Kraken with that new Crack app as well. Go check that out. Folks, we'll be back tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern. Until then, go make it a beautiful day.